Elias Vance was a legend of stubbornness in his rural county. The old farmer had owned the same sprawling property for 70 years, and for the last 10, his massive main barn had been partially collapsed, a dangerous, rotting eyesore of broken timber and rusted corrugated iron. Despite massive offers from developers eager for his land, Vance steadfastly refused to sell, claiming the barn still had value. Everyone assumed he was delusional. Mark and Tom, two brothers who ran a small historical salvage and recovery business, decided to take a chance. They spent 6 months negotiating with Vance, finally securing a contract to buy the rights only to salvage the wood and materials from the collapsed barn, clearing the site for a small fee. Vance agreed, but with one bizarre condition. The brothers were not to dig more than 6 inches into the ground beneath the original floor line. The farmer clearly had a secret, and the brothers were determined to find it. They began the arduous process of clearing the tons of rubble. It was slow, dangerous work, pulling away splintered beams and rusted equipment. As they cleared the last central section, they realized the floor beneath was not the usual packed dirt. It was concrete, a massive, professionally poured slab that covered the entire footprint of the barn. This was highly unusual for a 1940s agricultural structure. Using a ground-penetrating radar unit, they scanned the concrete and confirmed the impossible. The slab was not solid. It was merely a roof over a deep, perfectly maintained hollow cavity. The barn hadn't collapsed out of neglect. It was disposable camouflage for an expertly concealed bunker underneath. They found the access point at the rear of the barn, covered by a stack of old, heavy feed sacks that hadn't been moved in decades. Beneath the sacks was a square section of the concrete that was slightly discolored. Using a rotary saw, they cut around the perimeter, revealing a steel access hatch bolted into the lower concrete frame. This was the entrance. Hey guys! Quick break, because we need your help to validate the farmer's secret. We are so close to hitting 1,000 subscribers, and we need to smash that goal ASAP. If you haven't already, please hit that like button and subscribe. It makes a massive difference. Also, drop a comment below and let us know where in the world you're watching this video from. We love seeing how far our adventures travel. Now, let's get back to the good stuff. Using a heavy wrench, they unsealed the bolts and cranked the hatch open. A set of steel stairs descended into absolute blackness. The air that rushed out was cold, dry, and carried the unmistakable scent of clean oil and leather. They lowered a high-powered work light, and the sight left them speechless. The bunker was massive, climate-controlled, and filled with cars. Not old Ford tractors, but immaculate, pristine classic sports cars, lined up under decades of dust, each one covered by a tailored canvas sheet. The old farmer hadn't been delusional. He had been the ultimate protector of a multi-million-dollar secret. The barn's true value wasn't the wood. It was the priceless collection hidden beneath its ruin. The twins descended into the bunker, finding the interior to be a dry, humidity-controlled marvel of concrete and steel. It was a secure showroom, untouched since the late 1960s. They gently pulled the canvas covers off the first few vehicles. The sight was breathtaking. The first was a 1961 Ferrari 250 GT California Spider, a car so rare and iconic that its value starts in the multi-millions. Next to it was a 1955 Mercedes-Benz 300 SLR Uhlenhaut Coupe, considered one of the most valuable cars ever made. The bunker was not a stash. It was a museum of automotive legends. The brothers quickly realized that Elias Vance wasn't just a farmer. He was either an incredibly wealthy collector or, more likely, the custodian of a collection that needed to be permanently hidden. They found a small, custom-built desk in the corner. On the desk was a leather-bound logbook and a thick, official envelope. The logbook confirmed the true story. Vance was the chief mechanic and best friend of a reclusive European industrialist named Anton Kessler, who had been an obsessive collector of historically significant, irreplaceable cars. The journal revealed that Kessler, fearing the seizure of his assets by political instability in his home country in the late 1960s, had secretly shipped his entire prize collection to his trusted friend, Elias Vance, in America. Vance was instructed to build the bunker, hide the collection, and guard it until Kessler or his direct heirs returned to claim it. Kessler never returned. Vance, honoring his sacred promise, let his farm fall into ruin, using the collapsed barn as the ultimate camouflage, all the while knowing he was sleeping 50 feet above a $20 million fortune. The sealed envelope contained the final clue, a notarized letter from Kessler detailing the collection's exact contents, 8 vehicles in total, and a final, critical instruction. The letter stated that if Kessler had not returned by the year 2000, Vance was legally instructed to sell the entire collection and distribute the proceeds to a specific, detailed list of charities dedicated to mechanical education. The year was now decades past 2000, and Vance was still alive, bound by his promise and his secrecy. The list of cars was unbelievable: a Bugatti Type 57 SC Atlantic, a Jaguar XKSS, and several other one-of-a-kind prototypes. The entire collection, preserved perfectly in the sealed environment, was easily appraised by the brothers, using their phones and specialized databases, at a conservative total value exceeding $100 million. The brothers realized that the old farmer wasn't greedy. He was fiercely loyal, and their contract to clean the site now gave them the legal right to execute the final sale. Mark and Tom immediately sought legal counsel specializing in international probate and historical asset law. They approached Elias Vance with the letter, the logbook, and the final instruction from his friend. The old farmer, finally confronted with the truth and the physical proof, wept. He confirmed every detail, stating he had kept the secret out of honor, not greed, and had simply lost track of time. He was relieved that his promise could finally be fulfilled. The legal process was complex, involving locating and verifying the beneficiaries of the mechanical charities named in Kessler's letter. However, the notary seals on Kessler's letter and Vance's logbook provided undeniable proof of the original owner's final wishes. The brothers were hired by the estate to handle the meticulous extraction and sale of the collection. The automotive world was stunned. The lost Kessler collection was immediately deemed one of the greatest automotive discoveries of the century. The cars were carefully extracted from the bunker and prepared for a private, historical auction handled by the world's leading specialized auction house. The collection's perfect provenance, combined with the romantic, loyal story of Farmer Vance, inflated the final bidding price far beyond initial estimates. The final hammer price for the 8 vehicles, sold individually, totaled an unprecedented $175 million. The entire sum, minus auction fees, was immediately channeled into the mechanical education charities named in Kessler's letter. Mark and Tom, having executed the mission flawlessly and bringing closure to the century-old mystery, were awarded a massive, negotiated commission by the estate and the recipient charities for their efforts in discovering and securing the fortune. The final payout awarded to the brothers for the salvage contract and their subsequent successful recovery efforts totaled an astonishing $17.5 million USD. The brothers were completely stunned. They went from running a small salvage operation to receiving a massive, life-changing fortune, all because a stubborn old farmer refused to sell his collapsed barn. They demolished the barn, but preserved the subterranean bunker, turning it into a protected historical site dedicated to the loyalty of Elias Vance and the genius of Anton Kessler. They proved that sometimes the greatest treasures are hidden by the most honorable of men. Thanks for watching our incredible journey.